Hello and welcome to Maternal Mental Health Awareness Week. My name is Eve Canavan. I'm one of the co-founders of the week, and we are celebrating year 10 with our theme, A Decade of Voices. And with that, I'm really pleased to be joined by Bev and Steph today. How are you?
We're good, thank you, Eve.
Good.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm a bit hot, as you probably said, but I'm all right from my racing around. But I'm really good, and I was just saying to the girls before we started, I reached out to them not very long ago, and they've really graciously come on and to talk about the work that they do, and some really incredible stuff that they've got coming up. And a couple of people that I work with in the perinatal mental health world recommended that we have them on in the awareness week, and I am really pleased that you've come along and been part of year 10. So yeah, I'm really pleased about that. So with that, I'll shut up and I'll hand over to you two to talk about the work that you do and who you are.
Okay, thank you so much for that intro. So to start off with, my name is Beverly Coleman. I am a mother of one, and I had my daughter at the age of 40 and 3 days. And alongside being a mum, and obviously being a woman, of course, because I do think it's important to see myself as an individual as well. I also work a 9 to 5, like many of the people watching this. I have a braid bar that pops up all over London doing braided events for youngsters. But I am 100% passionate about maternal health and the creation of a family and just being part of a community and raising awareness for the things that women and men go through in order to have and bring a family into this world.
Thank you. Thank you so much for going through that. I'm a mum of one as well. And so yeah, thank you for talking about that. And I think it is really important. We did a during last year's awareness campaign, we did a it was a really I was walking down the street and it just popped into my head that we should do it. We did a video talking about like know my name, like I'm more than just mum.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we're so used to kind of GPs going, and how is mum? And I'm like,
Mm,
my name's Eve, please use it. We
yeah.
are individuals as well as
Yeah.
just being mums. And I think what you've just said there, Bev, is really spoke to me in the sense that we are women.
Mm-hmm.
We are more than a mum. Being a mum is
Mm-hmm.
incredible, but we are more than that. And we are
100%.
individuals who have achieved more than being a mum. And we should absolutely celebrate that. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Steph, what about you?
Absolutely. So I'm Stephanie Mensah, mum of three. Um, I am also a fibroid sufferer, have been since my late 20s, and also went through 7 years of infertility myself. So I'm currently a business owner. So I operate the Black and Brown Family Group with Beverly, but I also run a business called Bibini Dolls, which is all about bringing diversity and inclusion into children's books and toys. And I also run a dessert stand called Choc and Berries. So master of all trades.
Not very busy, are you?
No, not at all. But thank you for having us on the platform. It's actually an honor to be here. Bev and I started the Black and Brown Family Group. I think was it November or December?
Yeah, ending of last year.
The end of last
Is
year,
that
just
is that only
through,
then?
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
You've achieved so much.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
about that this morning because, like Stephanie said, we've been friends since the year 2000. We were colleagues at that time working in retail when we were students. And so we also like dip into like different business ideas and things. And we just came up and we talked about the events that we have gone to now that we are mums. And it just got us talking and we
Yeah.
came up with all these different ideas, and one of them was how fertility, sometimes when you go to these bigger events, you don't necessarily feel represented as a member of the Black and Brown community. It's
Yeah.
not to say that they don't have some representation, but a lot of the time you may just have one stand, and so everybody's fighting to get the information from that one stand. So we thought, how about having something where it's dedicated to members of the community, and not just we're not saying that if you are not a member of the Black and brown community, you can't attend, because we have so many supporters who are, are championing this, because this is something that affects all races. But when you feel seen, I think you feel more empowered about your own health and wellness. And so, yeah, we just kicked off from there, and we just started to look into how we can do this. And it's just rolled into the event that we'll be having this time in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, so I was just, you showed me looking down. I wasn't being rude. I've got to go onto your Instagram page. I can't even believe that you started in
Yeah.
November. Look what you've done, man. Look, I'm looking.
Yeah.
You've got. Well, we'll go into the event in a minute, but you've got. You honestly, what you've done, and we'll talk about the event in a second, is just unbelievable. And I think as a woman, and also I think also like with my black and brown friends, and we talk about this, and I was talking about this with Aisha, who runs World Maternal Mental Health Day, who's brown, and she was saying, no, there's such a lack of representation, and there is in the perinatal world in particular, for non-white women, and I talk about when I had my son and I was ignored for 6 weeks and blah 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 blah. But then, like when I talk to Chloe and everything from 5 times more, I think, oh my God, though, imagine if I didn't look like me, I realise now how much worse things, could be. And I think that's why we, as a platform here, like it's really important that we highlight the work of individuals like yourselves and what you're doing, because it is really important. Like I spoke to sorry, from Asian Miscarriage Help, who I know is going to be at your event, which we'll talk about in a minute. She's done a chat with us yesterday, and she was talking about she runs like South Asian Baby Loss Awareness Week and stuff, because there's such a lack of representation around. Well, there's cultural awareness, cultural competency, healthcare professionals not having a flipping clue about how to talk to people and support people. And it's really important that there are these spaces. And for me, it's really important. We've got an obligation here that we highlight the work of organisations like yourselves and what you're doing. So I'll shut up, and I will say, tell us about then the event. It's on the 15th of May, isn't it?
It's on the 15th of May.
And what is it? Tell us all.
So we're working alongside Vodafone. So Vodafone have kindly shared their premises for the event. So they are the event hosts. So that was fantastic. We approached them with regards to the project, what we wanted to do, and they were happy to be a part of it. So it's going to be at the Speechmark office, which is in Borough, in South SE1. It runs from 10 to 5 on the day, and we have some amazing, I mean, you've mentioned some of them on here already. So you've got Alicia from the Black Baby Loss Awareness Week, and then obviously Asia, and then we have individuals. So there's 24 together, have individuals who are specialists in IVF. We have holistic specialists and advocates as well. We also have people coming in to talk about male fertility, which is often a subject matter that gets lost. But we forget that it represents 50% of fertility in its entirety. And then we have panel discussions talking about the gap between fertility and how Black and brown men and women are treated when it comes to maternal and fertility as well. And that's going to be a really interesting conversation that we're having on the day. So it's a day jam-packed with lots of topics. We were obviously discussing multiple miscarriages and baby loss awareness and grieving as well. And it's just an amazing day. I mean, when Bev and I started putting things together, we were amazed by how many organizations actually focus on this topic, but obviously they do individually. But it was very clear that there needs to be a lot more done, and that more awareness needs to be raised. I've worked with organizations like the Motherhood Group, who do fantastic work for maternal. So amazing. We've both been to a few of their conferences, which is amazing. But I think what we realize, as somebody who's gone through infertility myself, there's just so much information out there. It's just this person says this and that person says that. But particularly as a Black or brown woman, there are a lot of reproductive issues that we face that causes us to have issues with our fertility. And this is something which isn't really brought out, into the limelight. So such things like fibroids, polycystic ovaries, endometriosis, adenomyosis. These are all reproductive issues that affect mainly Black and brown women. So if we can put those into the limelight and get more and shine more awareness, and then as Bev mentioned, it's not just about individuals who are having difficulties in fertility, but those who want to kind of get a head start. So you may want to start a family in the future. I didn't know that I had fibroids until I wanted to start a family. Had I known, this is something that I could have maybe tackled a long time ago. Like Bev, I didn't have my children until my 40s. But I spent my 20s with early bleeding, with long-term bleeding and pain. But culturally, I was told that it's normal. So it wasn't until I delved deeper to realize that actually it's a problem. And I think that's one of the stigmas of our societies, that a lot of it is we'll treat it internally. We won't go to medical professionals to see if there's actually something wrong, because it's a taboo if it is. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing day. I think we're going to learn a lot.
And we have been learning a lot over this time. Like, I've learned so much about fertility in general that I didn't know about. And like Stephanie said, like, if I spoke to myself 20 years ago, even further back, I would say, look into this. I think that's something that we don't do. There's an assumption that women will have children, whenever they decide to. And we don't actually educate young girls on the potential of there being issues that prevent you from having children when you want to. But another thing that I think is so crucial that we do speak about a bit more now, but we need to speak more about it, is the mental health side of things. And I can say this now as a mother, and I only have one child, the weight of motherhood mentally is like nothing else. And it's constantly on your mind. And that is when you get to motherhood. But prior to that, like Stephanie was saying, the cultural pressure that is on you, that there is this assumption that you will conceive and it will happen in this way at this time. And if that doesn't happen, the voices and the pressure and the negativity that can come from that is, honestly, it's like carrying a mountain on your shoulders. And so then when it does happen, and then you then have this, bundle of joy in your arms, and it may not feel like how you thought it would feel or somebody told you it would feel, all sorts of things can start running through your head. And I don't think that we focus on that enough. There is a perception that a woman has given birth, however many times, whether it's one or whether it's 10, she's elated because she has the children that she wants. And it's not to say that you are not elated or blessed, but there are so many things that can run through your head, and it's weighty. And one of the talks that we are going to have is going to is going to focus on that. I think actually it's going to flow through like that golden thread between all of the talks, because you can't separate your body from your mind.
Yeah.
And so in all of these different talks that we will be, I'd like to say, enjoying and kind of collaborating in, we cannot discount how it affects you if you're going through IVF and infertility, how it affects you if you have, reproductive health issues, endometriosis, adenomyosis, PCOS. It affects you when you're in the workplace. We have a discussion on fertility in the workplace. How does your workplace take into account that you could potentially have all of these things going on in your life outside of work, because health conditions don't stop at 9 and start again at 5. So it's actually really exciting to be able to bring this event to those who will be attending, because there's a part of me that feels that we're creating an impact in somebody else's lives.
Yeah.
And even if that room was filled with just one person and we impacted their life, I think we have, exceeded what it is that we hoped, because it's life changing. What you can go through is life changing. And I think that we're putting so much work into this, and it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like an additional job, even though we do all these different things. If it honestly feels like we're in a position that we are blessed to be able to impact others.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing, I mean, I'm nodding away here. I think what you're doing is incredible. I think, like, I had numerous losses before I had Joe, and then I've got uterus adelphus, I've got two wombs, and like no one realised that till I had to have a termination for medical
Mm.
purposes when I was like 23. And they were like, "Oh, you've
Mm.
got a second womb, did you know?" And I thought, well, that's why I've had all these bloody problems. But like, I've learned over the years working in this space and particularly, I think what you just said then, I actually think you probably saw me, I was getting a bit emotional then, because I think when you talk about, gosh, sorry, when you talk about like how health conditions, like God, sorry, don't stop, but
Mm.
like between 9 and 5, because I think I'm a civil servant in my day job, and thankfully we have lots of networks where we support people, and when people are going through IVF or whatever in particular, there's often lots of medical interventions and things. You have sometimes you take those wonderful pessaries that you put up here that leak down your legs, like all these kind of things in your work. You're going through your working day
Mm-hmm.
with all of
Yeah.
these things going on, and you're on a Zoom and people can see here, but they've got no
Mm-hmm.
idea what's going on down here or what's going on here. There's these
Mm-hmm.
physical and mental things going on, and particularly with baby loss as well. You might have been struggling with infertility for a really long time. Pregnant, baby loss, then might have had multiple baby
Mm-hmm.
losses, then have your baby and don't feel like you thought you were going to feel, or you were told you were going to feel, like you've just said, Beverly. And then a lot of people say to us, like, I tried so hard for this baby. We've used all of our life savings, like, to have IVF, and or was on the NHS waiting list for so long, had a baby, and I've got postnatal depression, and they feel like that they shouldn't have it. And we're like, no, none of this is your fault. Like, none of this is your fault. And like, people, it's like we covered post-adoption depression a few years ago, which is rarely talked about, and
Yeah.
people go, no, we've tried so hard, like to bring this child into our life and become part of our family, and they're their child. Then I'm like, and I've got this horrendous depression, like a postnatal depression. Like, and thankfully, like the Adoption UK and stuff have some great fact sheets on post-adoption depression and things. But people feel like they shouldn't feel like these ways because they've worked so hard to get something. And I think you've just so beautifully talked about how people, that you're not alone in these kind of feelings, and I think one of our members, Farah, and I'm okay to talk about this because she talks really openly, she's done an Instagram live about it. One of our members, Farah, struggles in fertility and has done a whole Instagram live about it, and it is this weight, this weight on you, this huge weight on you. And I think, and as people are going throughout their working day and they're logging on to meetings and stuff, people don't know what's going on in the background, and also all the tests. So like when I've been going through your page and see some of your speakers, and they're gonna touch on all the kind of these things. There's things to do with sperm count and this and all these kind of things, all these things that are going on in the background, and then you log on to work and go, morning, like, how are you,
Exactly.
Derek in accounts, and
Mm.
and people don't realize all this stuff that's going on. And for me, I just think what you're doing is just so vital. So I just think what you're doing is so brilliant. You come with your lived experience, which you're putting out there to help other women and families. And look what you've done since coming together and putting on this show. And I think I know a couple of people who are talking, so like maybe I'm biased, but I think you've got some incredible speakers who are great in this field because they've got their own lived experience. So Asian Miscarriage Hub was set up, and we're doing a talk with them this week because of what Sarah's
Yeah.
gone through. And same with Alicia. So it's really important to talk about this. So Awareness Week is this week. Black Baby Loss Awareness Week is next week. So we're highlighting all the stuff that they're doing in that space. And I just think it's so incredibly important what you're doing. And I just think if people want to come to the show, how do they come? What do they do? Is it in your bio? What do they
Buy
do?
a ticket, link in bio. You can go on to Eventbrite
Yeah.
and yeah, get your ticket and come on down. And I think I want to emphasize that you don't have to be going through fertility issues yourself. You don't have to, you could come as a friend to somebody, as support. You can come as a partner. If one of you can't come, one of you, get a ticket for the one of you. That makes sense. You can work in HR or people team, and you have a fertility policy in place, or you don't have one in place, you would like to learn about it. Or you can just be somebody who wants to support us, and support someone in your life. It could be a friend, it could be a neighbor, it could be a colleague. We just want people to come, to be in the room, to feel comfortable and seen, and really just feel that it is a safe place to be.
Yeah. I think just to highlight on that, one of our tags is break the silence, because often we don't talk enough about it. And when we don't talk, we don't realize that the person sitting next to us could be going through exactly the same thing. And so we end up keeping everything contained within ourselves, because we've been taught that when it comes to, particularly within our community, when it comes to any issues that's affecting you, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, you keep it in house. You don't talk about it. You don't let anybody know. And you mentioned it earlier on, Eve, in terms of having to deal with that mental weight in itself is pressure enough, let alone going through all those medical procedures, your relationships, for example. I mean, we tried to start a family, my husband and I, when we first got married. And it's almost like when you get married, the next thing is, oh, when's the baby popping out? Even the speech at your wedding is bless you with the fruit of the womb. You haven't even had a year of marriage yet, and everyone's got expectations. So year one goes by, year two, year three, year four, and everyone's like, hold on, what's going on? Is it a choice that you're making not to have children? Not knowing what's going on behind the scenes. So it's having to show multiple faces. So we touched upon it. It's a face at work. It's a face to your friends. It's a face to people that you may not know, because you don't want to show your true face, because then that's weakness within you. So I think this event is really about allowing people to say, let's break that silence. You don't have to go through this alone. When I went through it, I didn't know that there were all these support groups out there. So we did go through it alone. And like you mentioned, when I had my first child, I didn't know whether to celebrate or to kind of mourn, because I'd had all this penned up tension and stress. And then, as Beverly mentioned, then you have this child, this beautiful blessing, but then that brings with it its own mental issues. So you're saying to yourself, I've dreamt about this, I've worked so hard to have this, but now I've actually got it. I can't say I'm struggling, because I've told the world how hard it was for me to get it in the first place. So then you have to deal with that by yourself as well. So I think it's going to be a great place for people, hopefully, to come together, share their stories, and allow each other to be vulnerable, and ask those questions, because it's going to be a knowledge platform. My husband and I were told that we were Google doctors when we were going through our issues.
Sorry, just my
Because
eyes go.
we always question things. And I think sometimes the medical world wants you to just sit there and nod your head and accept what they're saying and not challenge. But you have individuals like my husband and I who did challenge and push back, because it didn't make sense what we were going through. And we want to teach men and women that they should have that freedom to push. If they don't think that things are right, they don't think if things are taking too long, if it's just not making sense, have that information to be able to push back until you yourself feel comfortable with what you've received.
You know what? I just think for me, I'm sitting here nodding away, because I think, first of all, I think women are constantly told to stop being Google doctors. But actually, I think, thank God, we are at times, because often
100%.
women go to doctors with their phone going, this is what I think's wrong with me, and and then
Yeah.
people go, Ooh, okay. And we've all been to the doctor where they've Googled in front of you, and I'm like, you told me not to do that. And you're
But here
clearly
you
like,
are
you
using,
know,
and I mean, thank God we're now in the age of AI as well. So that's even better. And I mean, sometimes obviously there's a balance, right? So sometimes you
absolutely.
can read into things that maybe you're going down a rabbit hole that it's not quite there. But at the same time, I think it's good to have that information. Who knows your body better than you?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so if the answers you're receiving aren't, what you think they are, then be able to push back. I think in this day and age, recently, I think it's Tommy's have done this research that's come out there,
this week.
to try to tackle multiple miscarriages. I think it's atrocious that women have to go through 3 miscarriages before
Mhm.
something can be done. They don't realize each miscarriage is a loss. You're grieving 3 times over. But the
Mhm.
medical world doesn't seem like that. And then you have to go to work the next day.
Go to it the next day, and also you go to the same place. I will not forget this when one of the miscarriages I had before Joe. Actually, I think it was the year before I had him. I can't remember when the miscarriage it was. So it was the year before I had him, and we went in to be scanned, and I knew what they were going to say to us because it had happened that morning. And I remember waiting in the room with loads of pregnant women. So you go to the pregnant, you're scanned in the same place, and they bring you off to the
Yeah.
bereavement room, and the nurse was wonderful to us, and she spoke to us so beautifully and gently. But then I walked out, like into the room with all these heavily pregnant women, and I was like,
Mm.
what? Like, I'm walking out with nothing.
Mm.
And then I felt really bad that I was walking out in tears in front of all these women who were beautifully and joyfully pregnant, and rightfully so. And I just, so don't flipping stop me. Like how we look after women and families experiencing,
Mm.
these kind of things. And I think, one of the things I was talking about with Asian Miscarriage have yesterday on my call with them was, like secondary infertility, and kind of things like, you have a baby and then people go, when's the next one coming?
Before you even leave the hospital,
Before we leave,
before,
it's like,
before when I gave birth to my daughter, a medical a doctor also came round and she said, due to my age, if you want to have another child, you need to start within the next 18 months. I had a C-section, like I'm just about able to get up and walk. I don't need to hear this now. Okay.
no.
What I need you to do is just say, Beverly, do you have everything that you need? Don't pile the pressure on me of having another child when I'm literally like, I don't even have colostrum yet, you know? Like, give me a break.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It's
Mm,
awful, isn't it? I was saying I did some market research somewhere a few weeks ago to try a new hair straightener out. And as I was waiting to try it to earn my £90, the woman was like, oh, have you got any kids? I said, yeah, I've got a 16-year-old. It's about to start his GCSEs. We're frigging nuts here. And she was like, any more? I said, no, no, thank you. And she was like, oh, I remember it so vividly. And I went, what? She was like, that's a shame. Does he get bored? Is he lonely? And I thought, if you want me to start going into the story of why I've only got one, I'll be here
Yeah.
for 18 years, but
yeah,
I thought, I don't even know your name.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think specifically people within the industries who are there to take care of us and look after us, as Bev mentioned, I think they need to be trained on what kind of vocabulary to use with men and women who are in vulnerable situations. And earlier on, Bev mentioned that, the event isn't just for people who are going through it, but you may have individuals who work within those settings that haven't been given that kind of training. And I think coming to an event like this allows them to see what happens when you say those things. So when you say those things, like Bev
Mm,
mentioned, and 6 years later, how you recall that conversation, Bev, because it came at such a vulnerable time when
mm,
you've just gone through, a major operation to have your child.
mm, mm,
And I think events like this are where people can understand, because they may not necessarily have gone through it themselves, but they treat individuals who are. But have they received actually the right level of training to be in a position to really help to help us. And I think events like this will really help them as well.
I agree completely. And I think I would say, to finish this off, is that if you are watching, we get an awful lot of healthcare professionals and employers watching these information sessions. And I would say sign up and go along. And I think we get, and it's really prevalent to say it here, we get quite a lot of white healthcare professionals contacting us to say, like, how do I support black and brown women? I want to learn more. I want to become more competent in that area. And like, definitely, like, as Sandra from Motherhood Group used to be one of our members now, so I'm good mates with Sandra, and Sandra talks really openly to be like, well, just ask us. You know, just ask us, like, just say, like, how can I help you? What can I do better? What do I need to learn? Like, and just ask us. And I think so. I would encourage anyone watching to book a ticket for the 15th of May, genuinely, because I just think it sounds like such an incredible day to kick off. You're obviously doing your work with the family group, and, you know, as always, but I think the show is a great way for people to go along, to feel less alone if they're, you know, a individual or family member, if you're an employer, to learn, you know, if you're the healthcare professional, to enhance your professional growth, you know.
Exactly.
And I think that is what is incredibly important in this space. And so for me, I just want to say, I just think you two are brilliant. Still can't go over saying November. I can't go over what you've done. You've been quite busy. But I think what you've done is brilliant. I really, really, genuinely want to say thank you for being part of Year 10 of the Awareness Week. It's brilliant.
No,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much for giving us the platform to be able to share this. And just, you know, what I do feel through the screen is just this sisterhood between us all, because, you know, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
You know, we're here to champion each other and just be impactful to all who are going through, you know, the things that we stand for.
Oh, well, do you know what? I just think you're brilliant. I think the work you're doing is extraordinary. And I wish you so much luck. I think I'm working
Thank
on the
you.
15th, otherwise I can, but maybe I'll try and get the day off. But I just wish you so much luck with it, because I just think it's brilliant. So go to their page, you'll see the page on your Instagram. You've got great posts about the speakers that you've got. You've got some insightful kind of like no, you've drilled down to some of the work that the speakers do and kind of giving an insight into the work that they do. But you've got a really good flyer where you've got all the faces of the people who are going to be talking on the day. So yeah, I encourage people, and I'll put everything in the caption below about how people can attend. But also we'll tag your businesses and stuff as well, so we can drive people, because I think the work that you're doing outside of this is very impactful, and we could all learn from it as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.